So I guess just to start off, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history in the area.
Well, I have been a member of the City Council for 19 years. I was first elected when I was 24 years of age, which is probably almost as old as you guys are at this point. And, when I first ran for office, I'd come up in a political family. My father had been mayor back in the 70s and the early 80s. I had the political bug at an early age, and so when I ran, I wasn't necessarily expecting to be successful in my first race, but I was, and I served for 18 consecutive years, and then came back as an appointed member for 1 year, and then ran for mayor. Lifelong resident of the community, and only live about a mile from where I grew up. Well, first of all, I'd say how informed, how smart the students were. I mean, people seemed engaged. They knew about the city. They knew about our form of government. They knew about some of the projects that we had coming online in the community. When I was in student government back at Radford, and I never expected, I was never that plugged in to the local community as much as the students were here. Alex Williams, for example, the president, lives in the city. He lives in Fairfax Square. So he seemed to be very knowledgeable, as well as others there, about the processes and the things we're going through as a community right now in terms of economic development, in terms of our relationship with George Mason. And so I think, favorably impressed I was favorably impressed by the level of engagement and enthusiasm by the student body. It's a great question. First of all, I'm thrilled that University Mall is going to be redeveloped. I think it's long overdue. That being said, that is really the only aspect of Fairfax County from a commercial perspective that really benefits the university. I would like the city and our downtown core, our historic downtown, to be part of George Mason University. And what I mean by that is I'd like the students, as well as the administration, to think of the city of Fairfax as their city, as their downtown. So the real question is, how do we accomplish that? And that's going to take some work, candidly. Our downtown footprint is small. We only have 2 or 3 blocks right now. I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to see it expanded. I'd like to see it grow from currently down on Main Street or Sager Avenue towards City Hall, towards the university. We have a lot of empty parking lots, for example, so I think a master planning process that we can go through to see all of those parking lots redeveloped would be a great thing. Attract the kind of businesses that students want, but that also the residents want. And I don't think they're incompatible. I actually think that they're a lot alike. A lot of things we try to do as a city, and I'll be candid about this, is that we try to be something we're not necessarily cut out to be, or we want a certain kind of retail establishment that's just not going to work. What has worked in the city, for example, are some small businesses. Restaurants, for example, have done very, very well. And I know people say, well, we don't want to necessarily be a city of restaurants. Well, I would question that. I would say, why not? If it works and people are patronizing our restaurants, and we can bring more people in, the city becomes a destination point. Our downtown becomes a destination point for more of that type of business. I think that's a good thing. It helps our tax base. It brings vitality and livelihood to our downtown. All of that is very important. So for me, personally speaking, I'd like to see our downtown footprint expand. I think that's going to be critical. And when that happens, I think that partnership between the university and the city will only grow stronger. We were recently rated about 3 years ago by Forbes magazine as one of the best places in America to live, the 3rd best place in America to live for a city of our size. That's a pretty unique distinction, and I think we should be very proud of that. The one area in which we did not do well, according to Forbes, was attracting, retaining, keeping, bringing in, retaining, and keeping, I'm saying the same thing, but keeping young people here for the long term. A lot of these young people, once they get out of school, that might live here. Alex would be a great example, for example, lives over in Fairfax Square. When he graduates, will he stay here? A lot of young people want to live in DC. A lot of young people want to live in Arlington, Clarendon area. So what I'd like to see is that we have a mix of housing. I'm not suggesting that we go overboard, but we have a mix, an appropriate mix. And that if young people want to stay here, want to work here, want to commute to wherever their jobs are, hopefully here in the city, but even if they're outside the city, that there is a type of housing mix that's available for them. And I think we've got some interesting projects coming online. I'm a little frustrated because the wheels of government turn a little bit more slowly than all of us would like, but we have two right now pending. One is the redevelopment of our Leighton Hall apartments off of Leighton Hall Drive. There's about 120 units roughly in there currently. They want to build 350 units. Sounds like a lot, but they're moving primarily from 2 and 3 bedrooms to studios and 1 bedrooms. So what's going to happen is you're going to attract a different type of mix of people who want to go in there. A lot of young people would like a 1 bedroom or a studio to live in. So, you know, again, adjacent to our downtown, walking distance to restaurants, walking distance to school. I mean, there's a lot of benefit here that I think can be derived from a project like that. At the other end of town, at Fairfax Circle, we have a project of similar sorts where they want to put in an anchor grocery tenant, apartments above it as well, probably roughly about 100,000 square feet of retail on the first floor with residential above. You'll see that out at Fairfax Corner. This is in other places, but this would be a smaller scale version of that. Sure. And that shopping center, frankly, is 50 years old. It's time. Just like those apartments are 50 years old. It's time.
Right.
Well, first of all, we have a long history, as you know, with the university. We dedicated the first 100 acres to build George Mason College, then part of University of Virginia, right on our border. So that history, we're intertwined, we're tied together for the long term. I came into office on July 1 of 2012, so did Dr. Cabrera. And the president, one of the first things I did was ask him to join a city council meeting for a retreat, a council retreat at an offsite, to have lunch with us and spend some time with us to learn about his vision for the future of the university. And he accepted immediately. I would say, and I don't think I'm exaggerating this, I probably met with Dr. Cabrera probably 7 or 8 times in 8 months that I've been mayor. That is I think that's a little bit of a departure from where we've been historically. I think that, you know, I'm putting forward, you know, a good faith effort to really strengthen those ties. I think he's doing the same. I feel very good about his presidency. Oh, you're going to ask me the really hard questions now. You know, as you can tell, I like to eat. So I am, you know, I do like restaurants, and I try to frequent all of them, as many as I can. And yes, I have favorites. We all do. Right. But, you know, I try, you know, I go every place from Artie's to Dolce Vita to Esposito's. I mean, I like Italian, Coyote Grill. There's a lot of places, you know, in and around Have a Bite, downtown Fairfax, for example. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm naming some and not others, which is probably not a good thing for a mayor to do. But what I want to encourage you to do, and your fellow students to do, is come experiment, try the city, visit these places. I think there's a lot to offer. And frankly, what's going to end up happening, we have a new bistro downtown, for example, the American Bistro, I believe it's called, that's a coffee shop, and they have great homemade cinnamon rolls, and they do sandwiches. These are the kind of places that appeal not only to our residents, but should appeal to all of you as students as well. And so my goal is to try to enhance and build on that. What can we do, you know, to sort of broaden that a bit so more people want to come downtown and visit? You all have a great campus where you're able to basically keep people on campus all the time if you want to, with food and it's self-contained. Even that gets old, though, doesn't it? I mean, I would think you don't want to eat at the same places all the time. So consider the city of Fairfax as your downtown. And then if you have ideas, talk to me about it. It's interesting. I've heard, even since our first meeting with student government leadership, I've heard from some students who read the articles and said, hey, we have some ideas. And people have emailed me and called me. And I'd like to encourage more of that. I mean, one of the great things about being a small city mayor is that we're accessible, and that it's not hard, you know, to come by City Hall, to see me, to visit with me, to talk to me. And one of the things I'm trying to do a better job is also outreaching to students as well. And I think that process has really taken off over the last 8 months since I've taken office. Well, I just wish you continued success. You know, I'll just say that the college experience our college experience is the best 4 years, hopefully 4 years, of your life. I know for some it's 5 or longer, but take every advantage of it. I mean, I've always believed, whether it's college or whether it's in anything you do in life, whether it's your job or whether it's being in politics, you get out of things what you put into it. So the more effort you put forward and the more you're engaged, and it sounds like you, of all people, are really engaged, and that's great, but you're gonna get more out of this experience for the long run. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
You got it.